Hi, guys, and welcome back to Venture Talks League. Actually, no more Prem Talk. I changed the name after realizing that ukitype hapo Prem Talk kwa YouTube search ni channel za Wahindi ndio zinatokea kwanza. So we had to do a bit of a change, and I am back. I believe this should be first episode of this year. And first things first, welcome back. And the second thing, we are in World Cup season. Fever kidogo, baridi imefika, World Cup fever, sijui kama imewafikia, but here we are, and it's already up and running. For this specific podcast, there was something I had started back sometime on my blog, which is still ongoing, of course, where I will talk about or feature the African teams in a specific tournament. So I do remember I did one for the Club World Cup where I focused on is it four African teams that were there. And this time we have a World Cup now for countries, and there are 10 of them. We have seen South Africa play, we have seen Morocco play, we have seen Ivory Coast play, I believe. And of all of them, let's first of all start things first with South Africa. I must say, in my honest opinions with South Africa, I was disappointed because the coach himself came there with a fearful mindset. Granted, they were going to a Mexican city, a host city, and the Mexicans were always going to be up for it since they were hosting the World Cup and it's their first game opening the tournament. And I believe the pressure got to them. But still, I do believe South Africa should have done a lot better than what we saw, because they literally came there to take a point and had no ambition of going forward, if any. I was trying to even see how it could work or what the coach was trying to think, because I'm always a believer of there is no coach that is wrong. As long as he is or she is able to implement the tactics and the formation that he wants to play. Sadly, here I do believe the approach was wrong, simply because the mindset that was in that formation and in those tactics were negative, because there were only two attacking players. As much as he tried with wing backs, those wing backs were too defensive, focused on holding a lead rather than going to attack. And the midfielders were, for what I like to call, they were destroyers. They were all midfield destroyers in there. Nobody to have that technical pass, and therefore I pity the two strikers that were up there because they had nothing to feed off. They were just running and chasing up stuff. Moving on to the next ones, the Moroccans, I am so impressed, because Morocco are growing to becoming now something of a very big nation in world football. And their growth actually is very surprising to me and very encouraging, because they came out of nowhere, if we are all being honest. Because back then, in 2010, uh, when the World Cup was being hosted in South Africa, none of us, if any, were very much familiar with Moroccan football and their league football. But where we are now currently, I do believe that there is a huge improvement. Most of their players, yes, do play abroad, but even the league itself is really improving a lot. And they did show it here in the game against Brazil. They came with a lot of bravery. They played wonderful football. I like to term the football that they were playing as sexy football. They did pass the ball around. They weren't afraid of Brazil being a high nation and, of course, one of the favorites for this thing. And they came and played their football. And it was a beautiful goal that they scored, indeed. Saibari, who's a young player who's really growing very well, just achieved a move to Bayern Munich. and he is going to be really good in the future, flanked, of course, by Brahim Diaz on one side. And the strength in depth that they do have is really encouraging. So Morocco they are really putting African football on the map, on the world map, and it's very encouraging to see. Ivory Coast at the other side that played, and congratulations to Ivory Coast because they did come and they did very well going up against a stubborn Ecuadorian defense. And that goal that they did score at the last minute or the dying seconds of the game, I do believe is a show that they are resolute in defense and they have a very, very, very lethal attack, flanked on the wings by two youngsters, Inyan Diomande and Amad Diallo, and of course some experience there in old Arsenal player Nicola Pepe in there, and a very, very good defense in all honesty. And that defense is what has been their basis of good performances in this World Cup. And very good for them that they did come up and show their might against a stubborn Ecuadorian defense, who are always known to be a very defensively astute side and very lethal in attack, but they were able to, of course, with some luck along the way, because the Ecuador did hit the post a few times. Therefore, I do believe that Ivory Coast did well to win their first game, and I do expect them to get through into the next stage of the tournament. Which other African side has played? Tunisia. Oh, the less I say about Tunisia, the better, because how I'll put it is immediately after their 5-1 thrashing of by Sweden, they did sack their coach, and it just shows that Tunisia have always been an odd, weird team for me because they tend to do well in the qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, African Cup qualifiers, but when it does come to the tournament, they really seriously disappoint. Even their club football, it is really disappointing with how they play. And with the players that they do have, I do believe they should be doing better. Uh, and it was a disappointment, although expected. It's just that the manner of a 5-1 defeat, they just gave up. Honestly, they gave up completely. And I do hope that the next coach that is coming in will just play with a bit of bravery and be able to at least get something, leave the game with some pride, at least so that you are able to, when you go back home, your other country members are proud and proud of how you have shown yourself. So I do expect or anticipate some better play from Tunisia. And yeah, that's the first episode of, I believe, of this Venture Talks League, and we this specific focus on African countries at the World Cup. And I do hope. Oh, we do have Cape Verde before I forget. And they shocked the world. Really, not, they didn't shock me because I'm astonished at the fact that people looked down at Cape Verde when, in all honesty, they have been outstanding performers at every Africa Cup of Nations that I have managed to watch them. And they've always been there like underdogs, but have done a lot of big upsets. And therefore, it was no shock to me that they were able to hold up Spain. Uh, in fact, if they were a bit more brave, I believe they would have gotten up something out of against the Spaniards. And I do now anticipate for them. It might be a shock to some people, but I do anticipate that they will get through their group, and to see them at the next stage, that is the last 32 of the World Cup. And yeah, so for now, I believe that's it. And once the games continue, you'll continue seeing more of me and more of Venture Talks League as we focus on African countries at this World Cup. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.